the stormy waters just got choppier. Guess who's in the studio from Young Voices UK? It's Connor Tomlinson. Evening, Connor.
Oh, how I've missed you, Kevin. I came all the way back from the
Oh, yeah, you were at COP26 last time, sitting in what looked like a broom cupboard or something.
ISIS finally let me go, so it's wonderful to be back with my head stood.
As soon as they put you in the room, you said, why are all these brooms and mops and buckets in my room?
Yes,
you know? Now, I want to talk to you about the ongoing migrant crisis, not so much in Belarus, but coming across our channel. The English channel, there are reports or predictions now that we're going to get 23,000 so far this year. We're going to end up at this rate possibly with 35,000 in the year, and they're saying that in the future we better get used to 100,000 a year unless we do anything. But this has just come in before we get to that, feeding into the ongoing drama about MPs' outside earnings. Nadim Zahawi, the education secretary, we learn now, according to the Daily Mirror, banked £1.3 million from an oil company while working as an MP. His total earnings from Gulf Keystone Petroleum included a final payoff, if you like, of 285,000. It was called a settlement payment, which is when he became a government minister in 2018, because the one area where they're fairly squeaky clean is ministers are not allowed to take lobbying deals. But Nadim Zahawi banked £1.3 million, including a £285,000 payoff from Gulf Keystone Petroleum. I mean, that's not a good look, is it?
Well, it's definitely in line with all these green jobs Boris keeps promising, isn't it? It's nice work if you can get it. Clearly,
hey, Nadim, we've got a planet to save.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let me go fuel up the private jet.
Fuel.
Yeah, let me just inject it back into the earth and then get paid off for it. So Alex Sharma was obviously crying because he knew how much his mate made and then had to sign off on the deal and bankrupting all of his friends. It's not exactly shocking that they're making off with all this money when they couldn't exactly get the countries around the world to commit to their climate COP commitments, could they, with China and India backing down on coal and then us buying all our gas from Russia? It's not the best of looks for them to be on the take from the same fossil fuel companies they're trying to put out of business.
Well, I'm sure that Nadim Zahawi would say these were totally legal and within the rules. He certainly looks as if he's been looking at the rules, let's put it that way, because the reason he didn't need his income from Gulf Keystone was declared in his register of interests, but his total second job earnings are not known, thanks to parliamentary rules allowing him to advise companies through that well-known company, consultancy company, Zahawi and Zahawi.
Oh, I've used them before, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So he was earning more than £1,000 an hour, and the Mirror says £1.3 million in total, but the full extent of his earnings might not be known because you don't have to declare it if it goes through a company, in this case that well-known consultancy company Zahawi and Zahawi.
I would say legality isn't even the issue. It's again the hypocrisy of them turning around and ramping up all the green policies and doing this draconian suggestion of possibly a carbon tax without any revenue neutrality, which is what all the yellow vest protesters are protesting out in France. They're going to make fuel costs go up for the average working family, and meanwhile who's making bank on the exact same things he said we shouldn't be using.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm pretty certain that Nadim will be able to say this was all within the rules, and that's the problem. They're all able to say this, you know, apart from possibly using his parliamentary office to conduct legal matters with the British Virgin Islands. Sir Geoffrey Cox has not broken any rules. So they keep saying, and the Prime Minister said this, you know, if people break the rules, if MPs break the rules, they deserve to be punished. That's not what the public are saying. The public are saying, we don't like the rules.
Yeah. The public are saying, you're meant to be doing a public service. You're not meant to be using the office to enrich yourself. And we get loads of people turning around and say, oh, the poor MP's only on 80 grand a year with all their expenses and a daily food allowance that was higher than my student weekly shopping budget. How are they ever going to get by? We've got to up their salary. Bear in mind, their salary comes from our pocket, so not only going to raise the taxes on us and then lock us in our homes for a year and take away the jobs of thousands of Britons, but then now they're turning around and saying, oh, bump it up to 6 figures, and then we might stop being on the take. I don't think that's going to get us the best and brightest anyway, because we get people like Claudia Webb even on this kind of money.
Well, I think, I keep making my position plain on this, and that is I have no problem with second jobs or third jobs, fourth jobs. If they think they can fit them in, working for another company, if you're a lawyer or a doctor, if you want to carry on with your profession, or indeed if you want to have a second job. It is a free country. MPs have as much right to have a second job or a third job as the rest of us. What I do have a problem with is these mysterious, rather shady consultancy deals where they take money to lobby for private companies for their interests. So if you're taking money from an oil company, we know what's going on, don't we?
Well, obviously as well, the lobbying concerns around individual MPs long after they've got their parliamentary passes, they can walk in the moment they stop being an MP the next day, and then some of them were being used up to 300 odd times a year. So we don't know what was happening in those meetings and what jobs they were securing amongst themselves. I'm not concerned at all about MPs that have like public service jobs like doctors and lawyers, as long as they can balance the duties alongside it. I'm concerned where there's a conflict of interest, or as with Nazim Zahawi, it goes directly against the exact same policies he's draconianly imposing on us.
Yeah. It's they call them consultancies, but basically companies, private companies, line MPs' pockets and say, go and do our bidding. Go and represent our interests in the corridors of power. It's as simple as that, and it just isn't right. It's clear it's not right. Do a second job, by all means, but don't take money to represent the interests of private companies in the Palace of Westminster, because that's not why you were voted there. You were voted there to represent the interests of your constituents and the interests of your constituents alone. That is it. So that's what's wrong about it. Anyway, tough times for Nadim Zahawi, I would imagine, the next few days, but he's only one of them. There's quite a few of those.
There's a lot more incompetence to go around, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's a lot more of this kind of extracurricular earnings problems for many of these MPs, and they're going to have to face up to the fact it has to end fairly soon. Let's talk about migrants. Ex-Border Force Chief has said that these channel crossings by dinghies could reach epidemic levels unless France agrees to some kind of a deal to actually do something about it. And he's talking about 100,000 a year coming across. France, for all of everything we do, doesn't seem to do a thing. We've given them over £50 million. They've promised to police their beaches, to stop people getting on board, but they don't. And still they come and they come and they come. So there doesn't seem to be any end to this problem.
Well, there were 1,100 that came over on Thursday. France stopped 99 of them. That's less than 10%.
Which, by the way, was a record.
At least we can be proud of something.
In the middle of the winter. No, but in the winter, they never thought that. They always thought that what they used to bank on was that when the summer ended, the clement weather, so they love to come across when it's sunny and there's a mill pond, but when the weather got bad and the seas got stormy, traditionally they kind of backed off making the crossings, but clearly not this winter.
Well, according to Greta's apocalyptic predictions, now that it's moved from global warming to climate change, maybe the channel will just freeze over and we can break the ice skates for the migrants instead. I hate to be cynical, I do, genuinely. It's frustrating because there's no political will on either side of the channel. In France, Macron's happy to ship them all over here because he thinks it's going to make him look tougher in immigration by deporting a bunch of immigrants de facto, while he's got Le Pen flanking him on his right, making him look pretty embarrassed about the fact that he's done nothing for ages and hasn't stood up to the EU's open border policy. And then over here, we've got people like Border Force, or as you said on Thought Police, RNLI, who are giving them sun hats and pizza. They're giving them 20,000 mobile phones a year from the taxpayer expense, and they're putting them up in better hotels than I was staying in while I was in Edinburgh.
Totally. Well, we mentioned that.
That's going to be a running joke forever.
Well, there's no doubt about it. I saw the glorified toilet you were staying in up there. What everything you said is right. The sun hats, the pizzas. There's just grotesque examples of how kind of generously we treat these migrants. I'm not saying we should be outright cruel to them.
No.
But we should have some kind of system which, in some way, acts as a deterrent There is no deterrent whatsoever about our current system. It is a system that basically throws open our borders and says to these migrants, come on over, we'll put you in a hotel. By the way, you can leave the hotel anytime you want, disappear into
Unlike
our
if you're
country.
quarantining for COVID, by
We'll
the way.
give you some money. We'll put you in a nice hotel. You know, we'll take you there by coach. We won't prosecute you because the Crown Prosecution Service has decided they can't find any laws that have been broken by people who storm our beaches, try to run in without passports. That, according to the CPS, is entirely legal. So there's your problem.
Yeah, it's pretty disturbing about the fact that we've got, I think it's 110,000 that we know of unprocessed migration cases. About 40,000 of them are meant to be people that have absolutely no right to be in the country, opposed to anyone else. Lots of people, we've seen videos of them just chucking their documents in the sea. So quite a few people are here for pernicious reasons. And at a time where we've now raised the terror threat because of yesterday's events and the murder of Sir David Amos to severe, well, if we remember correctly, and this is not to castigate migrants, people seeking a better life with all the same brush, that's absolutely not what I'm doing, but I want to make it very clear, there is a risk of evil people exploiting these channels to get across. We remember the Manchester Arena bomber, we remember the Reading stabber. We can't take this kind of security risk with unvetted people coming across, whether you want to make a better life in Britain or whether you want to harm us. We can't tell either way if you don't have any documentation and there aren't the legal frameworks in place. Come through legitimate channels and we will welcome you with open arms.
Yeah, who are these people, as you're quite rightly saying? We've just gone up to a severe threat of terrorist attacks, while 1,000 people a day are coming into the country we know nothing about. So you're right. I mean, they're going to have to up the ante on security at our borders pretty damn quickly. Connor, great to talk.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much for coming in. Connor Tomlinson from Young Voices UK.